Yu Lieping went missing. His phone was off, and he didn't respond to messages on QQ, WeChat, or email. He didn't show up to work on like Monday.
Given that he was also off on Saturday and Sunday, it meant he could have been missing for 3 days. His boss was so worried and called me, asking me to check on him at home.
Yu Lieping and his boss had dined together once before, and his boss had my number, knowing that the two of us were so close.
I rushed over, anxiously knocking on the door. Surprisingly, it opened. Yu Lieping was safe, but he looked disheveled, with messy hair and a scruffy beard, just like a wild man.
When he saw me, his face showed annoyance, as if he had just stepped in dog poop daily, like, why are you here? I want to be alone.
Daily.
I asked him who Bei Jing Jing Daily was, but he didn't answer. I then asked if something was bothering him and if he could share it with me to cheer up. Wolf brother, after a long silence, he said, "Just a friend, just passed away. Daily."
Business, right? Guide, sort of, right? Daily.
Core area.
Core area. When he admitted that, I almost laughed. A man in his 40s, heartbroken over just being dumped by a woman.
But I held back the laughter because I saw his eyes were so red.
Phil,
There was a kind of area gone daily. Sort of means never coming back. The woman named Hong was actually called Chen Hong.
To Yu Lieping, Chen Hong wasn't he just any woman, to be precise. She was like his soulmate.
A soulmate is rare, and even more so when that soulmate is a woman. So many times Yo had told me about the great friendship he had with Chen Hong, and each time he spoke with seriousness and emotion.
They had known each other for 2 years with so many stories between them, he could recall every detail, but I'll only share a few interesting moments or I'd have to write a whole book.
19 years ago, maybe 2 years after you graduated from university, he was working at a government office in his hometown of Nanchang.
At the end of the year, his office held a banquet at a hotel. Everyone else was holding wine glasses, lining up to toast the leaders at the head table. But Yu remained calmly seated, just like sipping his drink.
A waitress came over to refill his water and asked softly daily, "Everyone is toasting, like, why aren't you daily?"
Yu answered flatly daily, like they don't deserve it. Wait?
The waitress was like Chen Hong, a strikingly beautiful woman.
That moment left a deep impression on both of them. To Chen Hong, Yu's aloofness made him a rare and intriguing person. And she was so drawn to that kind of man.
To Yu, a waitress who could notice such a small detail and dare to speak up, was no so ordinary person.
At the time, Chen Hong was also a third-year student at Jiangxi Normal University, so working at the hotel during her winter break.
16 years ago, Yu did something so many mocked. Juan, a foolish act of lending Chen Hong Tapia.
At the time, Chen Hong had been out of college for 2 years and was teaching at an elementary school in Jiulan, just her hometown.
One day she called Yu Lieping, lent better quit food. I want to quit my job and move to Guangzhou to find work.
Yu said, "Oh, idea isn't enough," and sent her ban Yuyan instead.
Yu was working in advertising at a magazine in Wuhan at the time, making just over Ba'an zone Yu in a month. He had saved up. That bird sat thumb over a year.
He was willing to do it because 2 years prior, Chen Hong had told him, "Daily Yu Lieping, you shouldn't stay in a government job."
With your personality, you'll never get anywhere in that environment. Daily, you believed her, moved to Wuhan, and felt like it was the right choice. So he was so grateful to her and happy to help.
Shortly after sending the money, Chen Hong disappeared. Everyone thought it was a scam and that Yu had just foolishly fallen for it.
Yo, stubborn as a child, retorted Daly like I wanted to. None of your business, Daly.
A year and a half later, Chen Hong reconnected with Yu on Renren and returned every penny of the video. Sought Yuan no more, no less.
As for why she disappeared, Chen Hong never explained, and Yu never really asked. Why?
14 years ago in the fall, Yu went on a business trip to Guangzhou. Chen Hong booked a hotel room for him in advance.
During the day, they walked hand in hand around the city. At night, they watched movies hand in hand and returned to the hotel exactly the same way. In the room, they talked about literature life and whether the story of the apple falling on Newton's head was a myth. Every topic ended with them reaching a kind of shared conclusion. Eventually, they talked about love and kissed. But just as they were about to move to the next step, Chen Hong suddenly pushed him away with all her strength and left the hotel, just crying.
You waited anxiously until it a.m. when she finally sent a message. Oh, sorry, I wasn't ready.
Yu replied, "Oh, are you ready now?" Chen Hong, yes, I think I don't love you. I just understand you.
So Yu cried all night, but also smiled all night. 10 years ago, Yu participated in an amateur football match and broke his ankle, just requiring surgery. His newlywed wife, thinking he might be permanently disabled, held his hand crying and panicking.
Chen Hong, who had moved from Guangzhou to Wuhan 6 months earlier, also came. She attended every match you played in.
In contrast to his wife, Chen Hong simply looked at Yu silently without crying or panic, her eyes even smiling just slightly. Yu understood the look. She was telling him not to worry, that he would be fine. Finally, Yu grasped the meaning of her earlier words. She didn't love him, but she understood him and to him. So understanding was far greater than love. Yu felt like his broken leg was a blessing as he experienced something most men could only dream of, like two women standing by his hospital bed, one who loved him and one who understood him. It was enough for a lifetime. However, love is short-lived. Yu's marriage only lasted 3 years before ending in divorce, while understanding could just last a lifetime. After the divorce, Yu never married. He only had a soulmate named Chen Hong. Tight.
3 years ago, on Yunio's birthday, Chen Hong brought her husband and child, who she had been married to for 3 years, just to the celebration.
After dinner, her husband offered to take the child home, leaving her to attend set music party.
Yu's group of friends, hoping for a romantic connection, just locked the two of them in a room together. Both being Barcelona fans, they just watched a match that night in the room.
Nothing happened between them that whole night.
But the incident reached Chen Hong as husband's ears, and he furiously asked if it was actually true.
She replied, "Daily, of course. It's so true. True."
Her husband slapped her and demanded a divorce. She just calmly agreed. Before the divorce papers were signed, Yu learned of it and rushed to her husband, kneeling before him and swearing on his parents' lives so that nothing had happened between him and Chen Hong that night.
Chen Hong, his husband, was reasonable enough to believe him, so apologized to Chen Hong and said he no longer wanted a divorce.
But Chen Hong insisted on going through with it, saying daily, like a man who believes that spending a night together means something happened, is not worthy of being my husband. Star with a woman of supreme virtue.
After the divorce, everyone thought she would marry Yu, but they were all so wrong.
Game. Half a year ago, Chen Hong resigned and returned to her hometown of Jiulian without saying so goodbye to Yu.
3 months ago, Yu made a special trip to Julian to see her. But she told him she was just abroad.
A month ago, Yo decided to visit Juval again. Before going, he called her and told her exactly how much he missed her.
She said she was in Beijing. He then suggested meeting in Beijing, but she said she was just too busy.
You sensed she had changed last Friday night. He decided to call her one final time, hoping to persuade her to visit him in Wuhan. Instead, her mother just answered the phone.
Chen Hong, Ten's mother, told him that she was just gone.
There is a kind of area gone daily, like that means never coming back. Claw, she had passed away.
Chen Hong had died upsad earlier from an illness. Her mother refused to tell him what it was, saying that it was like Chen Hong's wish.
Just as Chen Hong had always understood, Yu now understood her in the final stages of her life. Her appearance and demeanor must have changed significantly, so she didn't want him to see her like that. She wanted him to remember her as she had always been. So at her most beautiful purple,
Her wish was fulfilled. Yo would remember her for the rest of his life, and the last face he would see before he died would undoubtedly be like hers.
Eileen Chang once said that for a woman to be eternal in a man's life, there are only two ways, maybe to become his mother or his unattainable soulmate.
So a soulmate who sleeps with you is no longer just a soulmate.
I changed standards. The bar for being a soulmate is so much higher than for being a wife. Intelligence, aloofness, sensitivity, passion, self-respect, sort of like all are essential traits.
But the most important quality is understanding. To a man, a wife is someone to confide in, while a soulmate is someone who listens, and listening isn't tea enough. So she has to really understand.
Despite these high standards, there are still so many women who meet them. So why do men lament that true soulmates are so rare?
In my opinion, they deserve it. The real culprit isn't the women. Just that's it.
Men are often ungrateful. A woman, they just want to be as quiet, understanding, like soulmate, but the man is always scheming to sleep with her.
And once that happens, it's over. Sort of like Prod, the soulmate turns into a wife, a lover, a one-night stand, a stranger, or even an enemy.
Men ruin what could have been a pure relationship, turning the soulmate into a femi, like Fatal.
If a man has a soulmate, it is a blessing earned from his past life. That's why I truly envy that dog. You like being.
But I also admire him for being able to control himself around his soulmate. In this noisy world, he truly deserves to have a whole soulmate.